In 2018 and again in 2022, you elected me to be your sheriff. You elected me to lead with experience, fairness, and accountability. Since then, I've worked every day to defend your individual rights, protect your families and your property, and use your taxpayer dollars responsibly. Focused on results and committed to doing the job the right way. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. Supporting and training our deputies, being tough on crime, fair with citizens, and implementing effective jail programs. I'm a working sheriff, a constitutional sheriff, and I'm committed to continuing the job that you've trusted me to do.
I want to go back a little bit. 2018 was your first year that you became sheriff. Day 1, 2018 until June, is today the 29th or 30th, Kelty? 30th. Till June 30th, 2026. Tell me about your experience and the things that from day 1 to now is changed, things that stick out in your mind that you have done that you want to talk about, and just what you've learned over that time, and how preparing for and hoping for a third term, how you got here.
Yeah, so day one, when you get elected in August, you take office September 1st. Mm-hmm. And you take office at 12:01 a.m. September 1st is your first day on the job. And it's customary for the sheriff to go in and lock down the courthouse, make sure everything's secure, take control of the jail and the office. And that starts.
Did you show up at 12:01?
I did. Yep. 12:01 a.m. Me and my command staff, my chief deputy, my captain, and my jail supervisor, my jail administrator, were all there at 12:01 a.m. Because, we're 24/7, 365. So we had deputies and jail staff that was working, when we came in and took office. And we were there probably, I don't know, maybe a couple hours, getting a plan for the next day, which we'd already been meeting and discussing what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it. Of course, there's always roadblocks that you don't expect, mm-hmm. and we hit a few. But once we took control of the jail, the courthouse, and the office and started settling in, things started to kind of fall in place, which, like I said, I was a city manager and a chief of police when I took office, so I had some knowledge of how government works. Now, let me back up. Before I took office, TSA, the Tennessee Sheriff's Association, offered and pretty much told us that we had to come to this new sheriff school. So it was, I think it was a week, if I remember correctly. And basically it was a lot of the other old sheriffs sat and told you do's and don'ts, what to expect, a lot of other things. So that helped on top of me having some knowledge of how government worked. And combine that with the new sheriff school, it was a big help when we come in and started to transition over. But yeah, we just started implementing some policy changes, some stuff that we ran on, that we wanted to do and that we had told the people we were going to do, and just started working with what we had. I'm a now guy. I like things now, and I learned when you're dealing with government, nothing happens.
No.
Nothing happens.
The wheels in government turn very slowly.
They are. And that was probably the biggest hurdle for me, was being patient. Things that I thought could be done and should be done in just a few days would take months.
Yeah.
So, and I remember I had to sit down with another sheriff, and I tell this story all the time. So I take office September 1st, and we're right here getting close to Christmas. I think it might have been in December. Maybe it was in November. But I was overwhelmed, and it was starting to show. And a good friend of mine, another sheriff that I had met, I called him up. He's in a neighboring county, and I said, "Hey, can I have your ear for a little bit?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "Come over, we'll get breakfast." So we did. And I was telling him what I was facing. And he gave me some of the best advice, and it held true, and it's held true since that day. He said, "Let me tell you something right now." He said, "You're overwhelmed and you've got too much on your plate. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to lean heavy on your command staff to do some of the heavy lifting, because you're going to have a heart attack and you're going to be burnt out." Mm-hmm. and he gave me some pointers on how to put some of the heavy lifting and the stress on my command staff. And then he said, and I'm going to give you some advice that I was told. He said, John, you are never, ever going to make everybody happy. Don't even try.
That's right.
That was his exact words. He says, don't even try. Come in, work hard, keep your nose clean, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then it'll be okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to make people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because in my mind, I'd been working so hard for over a year and a half to get there, and I felt like I still had to carry that same mentality.
Yeah.
Try to make everybody happy. Try to make everybody happy. And it didn't work.
It's an impossible task.
No, it doesn't. I have 100 employees. I have 100 employees, and back then I had over 300 inmates. I only have about 150 inmates now, but back then I had over 300. So I had the weight of 100 employees, 300 inmates, taxpayer dollars going towards every penny that I spent, and I was just feeling it.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make everybody happy, and he said, "Don't even try. Don't even try."
Yeah.
And I came back and I had to sit down with my command staff, and I said, "All right, here's what we're going to do." And I assigned duties and responsibilities to all of them, to all three of them. And I said, "Here's the chain of command. Here's what your duties and responsibilities are." And it worked. It took a few months for it to trickle down like it was supposed to, for the other level 1 and level 2 supervisors to figure out the chain of command and everything. Yeah. But after it smoothed out, it's been so nice.
It's been a nice relief.
I can't say enough good things about my command staff. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't have this job.
Yeah.
I would not have this job. If you don't have a good, and we're like brothers and sisters, if you don't have that working relationship at the top, that trickle down effect will ruin you.
Yeah.
Because it'll go all the way down to the night shift person, and it don't work.
Yeah.
It don't work. It'll crumble, but it works with us.
Well, and there's a lot to be said. We talk about that here a lot. There's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of I wouldn't say companies, but there's a lot of people in management / supervisor roles that's afraid to have really good people under them because they feel threatened by it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we look at it here, and again, in my whole adult working life, I've always wanted the best people I could to work underneath me.
For sure.
Because that makes it, number one, easier on me. Have people that I know I can depend on and count on. If I'm not have good people underneath me that I can't trust to do, my motto has always just been, do the right thing. You know, most people know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing. And if you do the right thing with good intentions, that, again, you can't please everybody, but doing the right thing that will benefit the majority because it is the right thing to do. But not having good quality people is of utmost importance. And I can really see it in what you do. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you have to have, and you'll hear me say this all the time, low maintenance. The people in this county have a low maintenance sheriff's office right now. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to be there. We're going to work hard. We're low maintenance. And when I have a new hire, I tell them, this is what I need. I need a hardworking, low maintenance employee. You got a low maintenance sheriff. I have a low maintenance command staff. I have low maintenance supervisors. That's what I want. And that's what you're going to get from us too.
Yeah.
Is low maintenance. It's, it's easier said than done sometimes. And I've learned that, even though you have these conversations with your deputies, you still, every now and then things don't work like they're supposed to. I always say, if it was a perfect world, this would happen or this would happen. I don't think most people understand what we see and what we deal with daily. And what's changed, and I know I'm getting a little bit off topic now. I know the direction we were going has changed a little bit.
Explain it.
But the level of stress that law enforcement's under, number one, this is one of the only jobs where you're forced to make 20 snap decisions every day, and if you get one wrong, you can get indicted.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just get sued; you can actually go to prison if you get one wrong. So you take that stress, and then some of the things that we're forced to see, some of the horrific things that we deal with. and you'll start to see law enforcement. You'll start to see your people start to break just a little bit. We're fortunate. We've got a team of people that will come and talk to some of the deputies when they're struggling with something. We keep up with performance, and we can see when somebody is starting to have a problem, and it happens. I mean, it happens all the time. You gotta stay on top of your people, because if you lose sight, if you lose track of what they're doing and what they're capable of doing, and you let them go too far, then you're going to have a serious problem on your hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to, I got off topic there talking about that, but getting back to taking office in 2018 and getting to where I'm at now. So the first 4 years, we had a lot of policies that we implemented in our minds to make it better. And I had told the people that I was going to identify any wasteful spending and cut that out, and we did that. And so you get to about, I don't know, 20, this probably would have been, this was 19 going into 20, the COVID outbreak happens. And we start getting all these mandates down from our governor. The governor declares a state of emergency, and the jail was a primary concern across the entire state.
Yeah.
Because luckily we didn't have any deaths, any COVID-related deaths in our jail. Some of the jails across the state did have COVID-related deaths, and it was crazy. But luckily we didn't have any. But what the court system did is the court system started to do early releases and probation reinstatement on half of my jail population. So these people that were doing time and on probation were getting put back out just to get the population down, so there wasn't a likelihood of
a major COVID spread.
And that was, I can still remember that 9 months of that. That was, you talk,
of letting them back out.
You talk about stress. Yeah, stress. It was a very stressful time, but we survived, and we made it through. So now we're leading up on to the election in 2022. And then, of course, I had a couple of opponents back then, too. And the stress, the work stress, in combination with the stress of the election, was 5 times more than 2018. Because, number one, I had people relying on me to stay in office. And we felt like we'd done all this work and survived COVID and all this. And now we were running for re-election again. And you combine all that, and then we felt like we had to validate the win in 2018. We didn't want people to think we just caught lightning in a bottle and won an election because of whatever. We felt like we had to validate it, and so that stress. So there was a ton of stress on everybody, but we go through the election in 2022, and of course we win again. And but the last 4 years. From 2022 to now has just been really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been really solid. We fixed in our mind what a lot of the problems were, and things smoothed out. And it's just a really good time at the sheriff's office right now. Everybody knows their job. Everybody knows their responsibilities, and the relationships that we built since we've been in office, because that was a platform in 2018 and in 2022, and it's again a platform in 2026, is keeping and maintaining good relationships with everybody, not just law enforcement, not with the other municipalities and state and federal law enforcement, but county government.
Yeah.
Because I'm a part of county government, and you have to have good working relationships with your committee members, your commissioners, and the other elected officials in the county. Because if you don't, then it causes problems, and that can in turn hurt your performance, and in return hurt the sheriff's office.
You have to have a working relationship. I'm on the school board. You've got to have a working relationship with school board officials.
Sure.
And the school system. Again, a lot of people we'll kind of jump ahead because, I mean, it's all part of it, but the school resource officers are under your command.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, if you don't have those relationships, it breaks down. and if it starts breaking down, it causes serious problems. And I talk to a lot of the other sheriffs across the state regularly. I've got sheriffs over in East Tennessee and Northwest Tennessee that I talk to regularly. But going to the conference, going to the meetings, going to the sheriff's training that I go to, and hearing some of the horror stories that these other sheriffs have about some of the problems in their community is crazy. Some of the stuff they tell me about the county executive and the county commissioners are fighting with the DA, and the DA can't stand the judges, and the judges are fighting with the sheriff, and it's crazy.
Who wants to be involved in that?
Yeah, and and I get to sit at the table and just kind of listen and say, well, we don't have any of that.
Right.
We don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's little differences, and you got to have differences. You don't want everybody to be so like-minded that everybody agrees with everybody, but you want little differences, but it works.
Yeah.
And we have a great relationship with the council.
The differences are okay. It's being mature enough to everybody be able to sit at the table and work through the differences for the better.
That's correct.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
And the counties you're talking about that can't do that, those elected officials aren't mature enough to be able to sit at a table and disagree on different things, but say, okay, we're still good. We got to figure out what works, what is best for our county and our people.
That's it.
So
That's it.
I do want to ask you, one thing I learned in one of the interviews that I did with David is that Lawrence County is the largest county on the southern border, the southern corridor between Chattanooga and Memphis.
That's
I
right.
didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So going back that you just talked about, all that you had just talked about from in 2018 up until now, with the growth of our county, and we've had significant growth. Talk about some of the changes, policy changes, things that you have changed over those years that have been a positive benefit, even if maybe some that you changed that wasn't positive that you had to scrap, and how the department has grown since when you took over until now. Well,
the policies that we implemented when I took office was just there was a lot of little ones, just little variations of some, because I mean every department has a policy and procedure manual. Ours is about that thick,
yeah,
and it goes all the way back to I don't know where, don't know when, but whenever I see something that we probably need to tweak or that we need to change, we'll look at the existing policy and we'll make an amendment to it. And then if everybody agrees to it, then we'll get it out and have everybody sign off on it that we've made an amendment to a policy. One of the biggest ones that, and this isn't a big one, but this is just one example of a little policy change that we made. And I didn't find this out until last year. So e-tags, I don't know if you're familiar with an e-tag.
I am not.
So I send a list over to the county clerk's office, and it has everybody that's entitled to get an e-tag. If you're a first responder, emergency responder, whatever, you can get this e-tag, and it's a lot less expensive, and it's got the E and it's got the numbers on it, and it basically it's a little, number one, it's a perk for law enforcement and first responders, because if they save a little bit of money on their plates when they get them renewed. And number two, if you're having to go help in a situation, say you run across a bad car wreck or something, and you're rendering aid, you got the e-tag, so people knows, well, this isn't just Joe Citizen that
That's
don't know
right.
what he's doing. This person obviously
He's on
has,
his way to somewhere.
he's got something going on. But I didn't know that some of our employees weren't eligible for that. And I get a call that one of my employees went over to get an e-tag put on their vehicle, and they told him that they couldn't have one. And so I done a little digging, and I found the policy on it, and I made a couple of phone calls. Our rep with CTAS, who kind of gives us the do's and don'ts on what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
I ran it by him, and he said, "No, if they're sworn, then that they totally fit that group of people." So we got in there and changed that policy. But there's a lot of little things that we've done as far as the policy goes to make it easier for the men to do their job, makes it more comfortable for their men to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things,
Sure.
that we've made amendments to make the deputies do their job just a little bit better, which in turn helps me and you as a taxpayer. But as far as the growth in our community, we're getting to a point to where, and it may not be this year, and it may not be next year, and it might be a couple more years, but I'm gonna have to have some more manpower, because you're right, we are growing, and I don't know what the last census was, but it puts us, I think, at 47,000 and some change, maybe.
David and I know David said this, and I think even Philip Heatherly said this when they were in here. They feel like that we're at 50 or a little over 50,000 people.
Could be, could be, and with that number is more help that I'm gonna have to put out there to the people. So right now I'm budgeted for 5 deputies per shift, and we have 4 shifts, but I'm gonna have to bump that up and add one more.
How is recruitment these days into law enforcement?
Like every other county across our state, it's hard to compete with. We just had this conversation at the radio station a little while ago. Highway Patrol, as you know, Governor Lee, his agenda was to put, I think the number was 1,600. He wanted 1,600 troopers across the state by the time he was out of office. I don't know where they're at. I feel like they're probably pretty close to that number, and they pay really well.
Yeah.
And they also lifted the mandate where every law enforcement officer had to go through their full academy. So they've got a lateral academy now. So if you've been in law enforcement and you're certified already, and you want to go to the highway patrol, then you don't have to go through the full academy. I think you only have to go through half the academy.
Gotcha.
And then they start you out more than I'm paying my lieutenants right now. And it's a good job. You get state benefits, and you don't have to go to domestic calls. I mean, it's a better job, and it pays better. So Lawrence County, just like a lot of the other rural counties across the state, they have a hard time. They lose people to the highway patrol, and it's tough. But I'm never going to give somebody a hard time for taking a better paying job.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that'll let the air out of your balloon when you walk in your office on a Monday morning. There's a letter that's been slid under the door, and it's a resignation where they're going to the highway patrol.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, it's good. It's like a roller coaster ride. It'll be straight and comfortable for a while, and you'll be fully staffed, and everybody's good, and everybody's happy, and everybody's doing a good job. And then you'll go through a period of time where you've got holes in your shifts, and you need help. And I will say we were at a point a few years ago where we didn't have any applicants. We had openings and no applicants. And now we're at a time where we do have applicants. We've got a stack of applications that we can look at and call people in for interviews and stuff. So right now it's good, but might not be in in 6 months.
I understand. All right, so I want to talk about before we move into the financial side of what you have to do. I do want to make this point. You talked earlier about you've got people that come in and talk to your deputies, and and they get kind of overwhelmed and overloaded and all that, and I understand that. But a lot of people don't understand the stress that they're under just simply from a day-to-day work life. And what I mean by that is that there may be a call that goes out for an accident on, let's say, Henryville Road, where there's an accident and they have to show up, and maybe there's fatalities in this accident. They work this accident, get it cleared up. The next call may be a domestic, or it may be something else, to where they have to go from seeing something absolutely horrible to an hour later, they might be in a situation where they're right in the middle of a very dangerous domestic, or they're pulling somebody over that's, you never know. You never know when you walk up to a car what it's going to be. But the emotion, the high and low of what they deal with every day takes a toll, and it puts an impact on them. And I just very briefly, I want you to just kind of speak about that for a moment.
Well, I tell people that if you do this work, if you're in this line of work long enough, you've got a ghost. or you got ghosts. We all have them. I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't have them, and they always seem to show up when you least expect it. I'll give you an example. We had a call 3 weeks ago, I think it was. You may have heard about it. It was a dementia patient, 70-year-old dementia patient who was armed. He'd shot over some guys' heads, some neighbors, and he went back in the house and he was refusing to come out, and he was saying he was going to kill himself. So my deputies get there and they realize it's a situation exactly like what was dispatched. So they kind of just surround the house a little bit, and we start doing protocol stuff. And then the SWAT team's activated. I show up, chief deputy shows up. So there's a big presence at this guy's house. And the family is next door watching everything. So we have the stress of the situation on top of knowing that if we don't handle this correctly, everybody's going to see it.
Yeah.
And the family's counting on us to bring this to a good outcome. One of my deputies was actually able to talk to him through the door. Of course, he was, and this was a man that was described as the most kindest, gentlest old man, never missed church, never cussed.
Yeah.
And the disease he'd done a 180, and he was now buying alcohol, drinking alcohol, smoking, never done any of that before.
Right.
Never cussed, and he was cussing us. he was letting us have it. But anyway, we made contact, and he goes back in. He says he's going to shoot himself, going to kill himself. And then the family member gets him on the phone, and we're trying to talk to him. So we're like 2 hours into this. And the next time he comes to the door and he steps out on the porch, he'd taken a pistol and taped it around his hand and then taped it around his neck. So it was up under his chin like this. And at that point, you don't have, there's no less lethal that you can use at that point. There's nothing that we can do except try to talk him down. He took all the cards away from us. We couldn't, like I said, we couldn't use any less lethal because his finger was in the trigger well and he had it taped under his neck. So now we're 4 hours in, and he's even more agitated. Every time he steps out, he's even more agitated. And I'm already, now I've got the stress of my job, the stress of reelection, the stress of this situation. My anxiety level was absolutely through the roof.
Sure.
And I was already preparing how I was going to tell the family that it didn't have the outcome that we all hoped.
Yeah.
But I had went back to my vehicle because it was hot and we were all in our Kevlar.
Mm-hmm.
And I stepped in there because there was no contact. He wasn't answering the phone. He wasn't coming out. So I stepped in my car to turn on the air conditioner to cool off and check my messages. And I seen him come back out on the porch. And I was watching through my windshield, and his demeanor had changed. And he was starting to, you could tell he was wearing down.
Yeah.
I could see it in his body language that he was wearing down. So I eased out of the car and I went around, and he was talking to one of my sergeants. And this is a sergeant that's been in law enforcement for over 30 years. He's a veteran, and he's the sergeant that I can count on to take an old school approach to law enforcement. And he's starting to build a rapport with this guy. And I think he was asking about it. He had a little dog running around his feet, and he was asking about his dog, and he was telling him about his dog, and he's building a rapport, and he's starting to ease up to this guy.
Yeah.
And he's elevated up on a porch, and he still has the gun here while he's talking to him. But he's engaging a little bit more with my sergeant. And my sergeant, he done the absolute best job. He said, can I pray with you? And he says, yeah. So he lets him walk up, and he says, can I lay hands on you? Can we pray? Can I lay hands on you? And he's like, yeah. Well, when he gets up there, he pulls a pistol away. Yeah. We take him down and get him handcuffed without incident. The only thing he had was a bump on his elbow.
Really?
And as soon as, and I'm behind the car with two more deputies, and of course they're armed and they're like this at the low ready. But once I seen that rapport starting to build, I'm telling him, ease back, lower your weapons. And I said, get ready to move. It's because I knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And as soon as we seen him take control of the pistol, it was go. And they just swarmed in on him and got him into custody. And we got him on a gurney and got him in the ambulance and got him the help. But like I said, my anxiety level was through the roof. And when I got up there and I seen that last handcuff go on his wrist, I turned around and I went back to the family and I just hugged. And these were people that I'd never met before that day, but I was sharing the anxiety that they were sharing because this was just this wasn't a drug dealer or a child molester or a known criminal. This was just somebody's grandpa, somebody's daddy, somebody's brother.
That the
disease had turned into the person that he was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was the relief of the century.
Yeah.
When all that just finally de-escalated and we had a good outcome, and I never expected it. Even the family didn't think it was. But that is an example of what. And afterwards, I said, "You want me to buy you lunch?" He said, "Yeah, let's go get lunch." And so after everybody cooled off, we stopped at the cafe and got something to eat. And I said, you feel pretty good about it? He said, yeah, I guess. I mean, it worked like it did. He said, once I knew I could get up there and I could take control of that pistol, I knew we had him because, I mean, he was 70 years old. He wasn't going to, but, he was in a position to where that was the only outcome. That was the only outcome. And he took all the cards and it come out on top for us.
And I think my point of asking the question and wanting to bring that up is that guy's emotionally invested. You were emotionally invested. It's not, you're not dealing with a criminal that you're trying to, that's a danger to people out there that you're trying to deal with. You're dealing with a man that a disease had changed had changed the way his mind worked. You got family over there, but at the same time, and because you have to protect people around him. You got to protect yourselves, but at the same time, you care about you want to protect the guy.
Yeah.
But the point is that you guys leave there, go eat some lunch or whatever time of the day it was. But then the next call, you may have a dangerous criminal.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think a lot of people will need to understand.
And you're right, because you can be sitting in your car, zero stress, having a good day, and the radio cracks and they call your number and you answer and you get dispatched to something terrible.
Yeah.
We see a lot of dead bodies in our job. A lot of suicides, a lot of horrific. I mean, you can imagine. I don't have to explain any of them. I can give you one example where I had a young deputy that went to a hanging, suicide. A young lady had took her life. She'd hung herself, and he had answered. He was the first one there, and of course she had been there for a while, so there wasn't any life-saving efforts. It was a death scene, so it was worked accordingly. But anyway, I was talking to him. I think it was a day later, and he said, "Sheriff," he said, I'm having a hard time, not seeing that girl's face."
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, let me get somebody on the phone."
Yeah.
And we got him some help, and he was able to talk it out. But that's just one example.
Yeah.
That's just one example. The younger deputies, I think, struggle more because once you do this job for a while, you kind of get used to the death. You see so much of it that it doesn't hit home like it. But every now and then you still have a hard time with a situation, especially with kids.
Sure.
You see small
or somebody
kids.
a friend, somebody that's that you're friends with, or maybe somebody well. It's somebody they're in their family or something. So I appreciate you saying that because I think it needs to be said. All right, let's move on to the your job or your responsibility when it comes to tax dollars. Is that obviously when you stepped into the job, that was probably foreign to you. The law enforcement side, you were, I would say, equipped to handle. You had experience. You'd been there before. But managing a budget, managing dollars that are got to be spent, and doing it the right way, like I say, everything to me goes back to just do the right thing. So How do you do a good job of handling and managing the county's money that we've entrusted you with?
Well, I use the word obligated. As a department head within county government, I'm obligated to make sure that that I am spending taxpayer dollars wisely, and I'm always looking for wasteful spending. If there's any pork somewhere that needs cut, I don't have any problem cutting any. We don't have any. I can tell you that right now. It's budget time. We was just going over the budget not long ago, and I keep going back to when I was chief of police and city manager in Etheridge. I hadn't seen a big budget before.
Yeah.
But even though that was a small town, small community, small government, what I gained as far as experience from being in those two roles helped a lot. Plus my chief deputy, Barturin, he had been a police chief in Waynesboro. He was also a captain under a previous sheriff's administration, so he knew his way around a budget too. So we didn't get slapped in the face with the multi-million-dollar budget that we have now, but there was some challenges. What I tell people is that if you don't know your way around how you can move money in a budget, you can really get yourself in some serious trouble. And there's do's and don'ts to a budget. There's money that you can move from one line item to another line item because the county gives me almost $9 million.
Yeah.
And they say run your department. This is for the jail. This is for the sheriff's office. This is for courthouse security. This is for all of it. Mm-hmm. You do it how you need to, but it's broke down into line
security. I want to continue to throw that in.
I'm glad you brought that up, and don't let me forget about that because I want to talk a little bit about how the state took that funding for us. But they give me all this money and they say spend it. This is a year's worth of money for your department. But it's broke down into line item by line item. The majority of it is salary and benefits and insurance and stuff. But if you don't know what you can and can't do, and every now and then I'll still have to call our budget director and say, do I need to get the committee to make an amendment for me to move this money or use this money? Just to make sure, even though I most likely know the answer, I still want to hear it from her.
Well, you don't want to get in trouble for that.
No, because if you have a finding, then I'm going to get it from Morgan and the rest of the commissioners and everybody else. You don't want to find. Look, I'm glad we're talking about this because we haven't had a finding yet. This is our 8th year and we haven't had a finding yet. But yeah, you have to know your way around committees and commission and how the commission works. Luckily, we had some knowledge when we took office, so we didn't really get smacked in the face with something that we had no idea about. But still, it's a working number, and you have to know how to move money around in it, and you have to know how to budget. So one of the things that I'm most proud of since I've been in office, and this just wasn't me, this was me and another 94 sheriffs across the state. There's two things that the state picked up and took it off the taxpayers' payload, and that was the school resource program. So up until 2 years ago, the county taxpayers paid for having an SRO in every school. We had 15 plus one. I think it's 15 plus one or 14 plus one. Mm-hmm. But we've got a floater that helps out if we've got somebody out sick or whatever. But for years, that came out of county tax dollars.
Right.
Well, our state finally picked up that amount, and now through state funding, through a grant, our entire SRO program is paid for. So the money that was already budgeted, I tried to talk the commission and just leave that in there, leave it in there, but they didn't. They took a chunk of it and spread the love, but then they gave us some more of it back the next year, so I could get the guys the raises that we've been needing for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every year we get a check from state of Tennessee for $1,050,000. It's the biggest check you've ever seen. $1,050,000. I got a lot of zeros on it. $1,050,000, and that goes into our general fund, and that pays for our SRO program. And another one, which was a huge burden on the taxpayers, was our mental health transports. We've had as much as 40 in a month. So for years, the sheriffs have been trying to get out from under these mental health transports. So if you call us up and you say, I'm thinking I'm going to kill myself today, and we go and we find evidence that you're serious about it, these aren't just threats, you're seriously considering killing yourself, we'll take you to the ER and we'll have a crisis team come and talk to you and evaluate you. And if they say, yeah, he's got some problems, then they're going to find a bed for you at a mental facility. Oliver, Jackson, Chattanooga, Nashville. I think there's one in Murray County.
Bolivar's still open?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. For some reason, I thought Bolivar was closed.
Yeah. So, and then the sheriff has always been responsible for that transport. And we've been arguing the whole time. You're pretty much making us put somebody, take them into custody that hasn't committed a crime and take them to a facility. That should be, somebody else should be footing the bill for that.
Yeah.
And it was a huge problem on your manpower because you'd be running on a Friday night with 4 or 5 deputies and we're being overrun with calls and dispatch says, hey, we've got to transport to Bolivar.
Yeah.
So you got to pull one off or two. We always tried to have 2 go on these mental health transports and then you're looking at 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes over there, and then you're an hour there, and then you're
that's
an hour
kind of where my
mind
first went. I mean, obviously there's a cost to it, but my mind first went to, you just took 1 or 2 people off shift.
Killed our manpower.
Yeah.
And there would be times I can remember doing 2 in a night. I would go run one, bring them back, or come back, and they'd say, you got another one waiting at the ER, and you pick them up. So anyway, we've made that argument for years. Finally, the state said, you know what, y'all are right. Y'all shouldn't be responsible for that. We're going to compensate you. So they send us enough money now every year that we hire 2 mental health transport deputies, and that's all they do.
Really?
That's all they do is make transport.
You know
runs.
what I think is the most shocking thing of that? Is that that's where we are in today's world. That we have to have full-time deputies that transport for people with mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate that from the school side of things to where Lawrence County school system has added mental health teams and people to deal with kids that are struggling with their mental health.
Yep.
It's just the world we live in these days. It really is. And because, to be honest with you, that's a side that you guys handle that I had no idea about. And I would say the majority of the community don't know about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a problem. We're mandated mental health training by the state every year. You know, we have to do our 40 hours of in-service, and that includes firearms and defensive driving, mental health, child sex abuse. And I think there's one more. I don't know if we still have to do the de-escalation training that's mandated, but there's mandated stuff in that 40 hours that we have to do. And if you don't do it, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
And you may lose your post-certification. But so we even went a step farther, and now we've got critical incident training that I've sent my supervisors to, and I sent them to the train the trainer classes. So now they're certified in instructing critical incident training, so we can help people out, because it is. I mean, a majority of people that we come in contact with has got some sort, especially these lifetime drug addicts, you know, where they've just pickled their brain for so many years on drugs. They have the effects of that addiction. And, you know, I mean, you see them walking down the sidewalk here in town, and
that's a whole other argument, or that's a whole other sit down conversation.
That's a long one. You need to have that with somebody else.
You're right about that.
But yeah, so I mean, we not only are we satisfying our mandatory training, our mental health training, we've actually got deputies trained in critical incident too. So. Yeah, you can't put a price tag on that car. I mean, you got to have it. You got to know how to talk to people out here, because that's mostly what we do is communication.
Yeah. And
using verbal judo, and you have to know how to de-escalate situations. And if you go up, and I'll give you a good example. It was a 14-year-old boy. He was autistic. He was violent. I mean, violent. And that's a situation that you've got to really handle. You got to know how to handle it, you know, because if you handle it the wrong way, I mean, it can can be bad for the family, bad for the department, bad for everybody, you know.
Right.
So little stuff like that we can get them trained up on, and it pays dividends for sure.
Yeah. Anything else on the tax dollar side that you want to make a point of?
You know, I tell people that you don't have to worry about. I'm not a tightwad, but I do believe in being practical.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think overkill it should be in law enforcement. You know, we don't buy the cheapest equipment, but we don't buy the most expensive neither.
Yeah.
We get stuff that helps us. I mean, we have to have equipment to do our job.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to have it, and stuff isn't cheap. We just had our reserve deputy program golf scramble this past Saturday, and I used a reference. I said, when you see a deputy sheriff standing there in uniform with his gear, I mean, you're looking at like $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it takes to equip him with the stuff that he has to have to do his job. The old days of Mayberry, where you just got a revolver on your hip and a set of handcuffs, and those days are over. Those days are over. You know, you got to be equipped, and so I mean, I'm always looking for ways to shave money or offset taxpayer dollars. You know, we have 3 accounts that we rely on to offset taxpayer dollars, and that's our drug fund, and our e-cig money account that comes out of the jail, and then our LISO program, which is some of the military surplus stuff that we get, and then we can sell it after a year if it's deemed unusable or something, you know.
Yeah.
And we can turn right around and put that money in account, and we can buy vests and tasers and flashlights and stuff too. So I'm always looking for somehow I can offset some tax dollars with a grant.
Yeah.
I think George gave me a number just on the mental health transport grant and the school resource officer grant that we got. 3 years, we saved like over $3.7 million.
Wow.
Just in those grants. That's not talking about the other things that we do to offset some taxpayer. But yeah, I'm not a tightwad, but I'm not an overkill guy either.
Yeah.
Getting something that we can do our job good and we don't have to worry about any problems is key, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're winding down here. I got a couple more things I want to touch on. One of them, and I just want to touch on it briefly. If people want to know about, I know people ask you all the time about crime and what's going on. Every time I always see, I'll say, well, is the crime business good? You know, and I know it always is. But tell me a couple of things that's going on that you do. Just kind of want citizens to be concerned about, whether it be scams, whatnot, just simple things like that. I know the other day when I called you and asked you about coming in, you were talking that a lot of things just originate on social media. So hit on that for just briefly for us.
So for years, I've always said our number one threat to public safety is methamphetamine and drug addiction. And, you know, it probably still is because it's the source of the majority of our crimes. But misinformation on social media is a huge problem in this community. It's a huge problem. And I know that because you can look at the types of calls that we're responding to, the majority of the types of calls that we're responding to, domestics, stalking calls, harassment calls, vandalism calls. Those make up a big chunk of our call volume. And you can look and see where the majority of them originate is from something on social media, some misinformation on social media. And it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Especially for us because, you know, we're running our butts off trying to figure it out.
And when you say misinformation, it's people on social media starting a riff.
Yes.
Is that what you're meaning?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Assaults, like I said, domestics, those crimes, those 5 crimes right there, you can almost always trace back to the source of being a social media post or some misinformation that was passed on to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I gave a report to Karen Niedekasess at the shelter a couple of years ago when I spoke, and we're at almost 2 a day. Officially, two domestics a day is what our average is. And I can remember when it was 2 a week.
Yeah.
You know, you just didn't have people's business wasn't out there, and they pretty much handled stuff on their own.
Yeah.
And if you went to a domestic 20 years ago, I mean, it was a domestic. You know, there was somebody got popped, somebody got beat up, strangled, something. You know, there had been a fight. But it's a problem. So if it's not first, it's probably a close second as far as our threat to public safety. But scams, I'm glad you brought that up because Tommy Lee Kidd just put something out
I seen that
the other day, the jury scam.
Yes.
He just sent out subpoenas last week, and so there's a bunch of them coming today to get new panels because we've got a murder trial going on right now on top of all the new jurors coming in to get put on jury duty. So it's going to be busy. But there's a scam that's going around that's saying that if you don't, you missed your jury duty, so we're going to come arrest you if you don't send us some money. You would think most people would know that's
right.
BS, but
they're targeting.
They're good.
They are good.
They're really good.
Again, they're targeting, even though I may get it, you may get it, but they're targeting elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
That's who they want to go after.
Yeah.
Or maybe some people with some mental deficits, that they think that they can get. Because to them, who cares? They send out 10,000 of them and they scam 3 people. That's a success.
That's it.
So.
That's it. And we fight it. It's more along. It seems like the scams always pick up around the end of the year when you're getting close to the holidays. I don't know if they think people's got more money or they're saving more money or something.
The one that cracks me up is the one that you get where you've been to Florida and you haven't paid your toll. You know what I mean? You went through the toll booth.
You got the IRS scam. You got the Florida toll. You got the one where your license plate was picked up coming across the border in Texas and your vehicle is to be seized if you don't send this money because you was buying drugs. There's a multitude of them out there, man. And like I said, they're good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're believable. My neighbor, I'll give you a quick example. My neighbor lives 2 houses up from me. I've known him since high school. He calls me up and he says, my wife wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. He said, she wants to talk to you in person. Can we come by? And I said, yeah. So they came by the office. Well, this individual called and said that she had a warrant. And the number was spoofed from our local office number. It showed up, Orange County Sheriff's Office. And the investigator was actually an investigator that I have. They had his rank wrong, but they had his name right.
All real information.
Yeah, it was real close. Mm-hmm. And they even knew that I was a neighbor because they told this woman, well, we know you live right up the road from the sheriff, and I've just talked to him, and he's told me that it's okay for me to handle it this way. So if you'll just send this money, then it'll just go away. Basically, that's how convincing this guy was. This scammer really done his homework. Mm-hmm. So she was convinced that it was true, and so they come to and I had to look at her like I'm looking at you and say, it's fake. I'm not gonna arrest you.
Right.
If you don't send me some money.
And that tells you that somebody local, right? I mean, is that your first inclination?
I don't know. All the information's on the internet.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, it's all out there.
It's so easy to get anything on anybody now.
I know.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about, and I love it, and that's why I want to bring it up. The new app. Mm-hmm. I love the new app. And the reason I wanted to bring it up, you've probably seen it whenever it comes. You said,
"Oh, okay." No, I hadn't seen that.
You hadn't seen that?
All
right. So,
that's one of the from the dashboard, most wanted. I was talking to our warrant clerk the other day because this is new and we're still getting it built. I mean, it's built, but we're still adding stuff to it.
Yeah.
But I saw our warrant clerk yesterday, and I said, "Tell me why." I just clicked on the most wanted, and it still says "check back later." She goes, "I'll get right on it." Yeah. So I'm glad they're on there.
So they got it. So this is what that's from. It's an update.
Yes.
Okay.
So the app is something that we've been working on for over a year, and I eventually just want to steer clear of social media and just stick to the app.
Yeah.
Because you get notifications. What we'll do is we'll put weather notifications, road conditions. Mm-hmm. I didn't get that on there yesterday, and I need to see where our road crews are going to be. School closings, like if we have a lockdown at one of the schools,
yeah.
I know I'm going to get phone calls on it, wondering what's going on. Yeah. It's usually because of an incident around the school.
Yep. There's been a couple of incidents down in Leoma where the Dollar General's been robbed, that
Yeah.
we've had to lock it down. And so
Yeah.
because the school system obviously sends that out. So
Yep.
that hits everybody that's got a kid. So I'm sure that
Yep.
initially gets your phone going.
Yep. So that's something that'll be added on to the notifications. But the biggest thing that people love about it is the inmate information
Yes.
in the recent arrests, because we had mobile patrol for a while at the sheriff's office, and what we figured out with mobile patrol, because it's all attached to our jail operating system, what we call our JMS, our software, and it's linked with that. So when a new arrest comes in, it automatically shows up as a new arrest on the app. Well, what we were finding out with and I'm not saying anything negative about mobile patrol, but it wasn't accurate sometimes. Sometimes somebody would get booked in and booked out, and it wouldn't show up. Well, we were getting accused of picking and choosing
Right.
who got put on mobile patrol. We said, no, we don't have nothing to do with it. It's integrated with our software system. We have nothing to do with it. But what we found out is if somebody was booked in and booked out really, really quick, it might not pick it up, because I think it resets every 15 minutes or something.
Gotcha.
But anyway, that's what we found out. But when I found out about this app and it had that inmate information in recent arrests, I said, is it going to be like it was last time? Because if it was, I'm not interested. And he's like, no, that's something totally different. Yeah. So I'm not saying that if you get booked in and you book out, that it's not going to show up on there. But so far, there hasn't been one yet that's gotten booked in and booked out.
I love it. I check it out multiple times a day.
That's usually, and it saves me a lot of time on the phone, because like I'd get a phone call on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and they say, hey, can you tell me if so-and-so got arrested last night? I'm like, yeah, hang on just a minute. Let me make a couple of phone calls. So I would have to call the jail staff, and I'd say, hey, can you show me? Now I just say, just download the app. Yeah. Just download the app. It's free. You can get on there and look at it.
Yeah. Well, just from the public safety side of things, like you said, the things that you guys are putting on there, road closures, what was it? A couple weeks ago, the guy running wild down in Iron City, that got out and whatnot. I think that's awesome. I mean, I think it's fantastic. So I appreciate it very much as a citizen. All right, last thing. Here's your opportunity. We're going to get this thing out around the fort. People I know getting together. I want you to make your plea to become the sheriff again for your third term.
Well, we are we're 2 weeks from Thursday from early voting. If you've run for office, you really work up to early voting. I mean, you run wide open as hard as you can go, and when you get to early voting, you can kind of push the cruise control, a little bit. And I'm not going to let out of it, but once you get to early voting, July 17th, I mean, pretty much everybody's got their mind made up. Right. Pretty much everybody. I mean, there might be one or two people on the fence, but for the most part, everybody knows who they're voting for. So you work up to that, and then you just kind of coast until you get to August 6th, which is Election Day. This is going to be a big election because it's also the state primary. Most likely, we'll know who our next governor is going to be. The new congressional district that they redistrict that runs from Memphis over to Lincoln County. That we're going to know who.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we're going to know who that is. So it's the state primary and our general election. So we're all expecting a big voter turnout.
It will be a big turnout,
and it's good because I preach it to people. You can't complain about nothing if you're not voting.
I agree.
But what I tell people is, the reason why I'm running for my third term is because number one, I love my job. I love what I do. I love serving this community. And number two, we worked really hard to get the sheriff's department in the place that it's at. And it didn't come easy. I mean, we worked our butts off to get it where it's at. And we worked our butts off to get the relationships built with the people. And it's just a really good time right now, not just at the sheriff's office, but in county government. I mean, things are in really, I mean, I know you see a lot of stuff on social media that says otherwise. But if you go to a county commission meeting, if you go to a committee meeting, if you come by the sheriff's office, if you come by one of the other local departments in county government, you see, it's running good. And I got really good relationships with our trustee, our county clerk, our register of deeds, our property assessor, the county clerk, circuit court clerk, judges, DAs. we've all worked really hard to get to the place where we're at, you know, and we don't want to see that fall to the wayside. We want to keep continuing doing the great things that we're doing for this community. You know, I could go on for an hour about all the accomplishments that we've got under our belt, but we don't have that much time. But it's been really good, and it's still good, and we want to keep it good.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reason why. And I keep saying we, the sheriff, the sheriff is an administration. I represent the office.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got, you know, the people that work for me are the real heavy lifters when it comes to this administration. I can't say enough good things about them. We're like a big family, but we just want to keep doing all the good things that we've been doing for this county, and that's the reason why I'm running for my third term. And I feel good about it. I don't think it's going to be a lot different from the last election, but you know, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you and thank you for coming by, and best of luck to you. And it's been, I've enjoyed sitting down and talking to you.
I appreciate it, Corey. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. Stay with us for more interviews on Local 43, and we'll see you next time.
In 2018 and again in 2022, you elected me to be your sheriff. You elected me to lead with experience, fairness, and accountability. Since then, I've worked every day to defend your individual rights, protect your families and your property, and use your taxpayer dollars responsibly. Focused on results and committed to doing the job the right way.